All right, and we are here. It is Monday. Monday. Y'all know every Monday we are here for the Bright Girls in Business podcast. And today I am so super excited to introduce to you my guest, Miss NaChe Thompson. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Miss NaChe is an educator and entrepreneur in San Bernardino, California. That's like a tongue twister. I don't know why. She spent over 12 years in the education field while simultaneously running her businesses, the first of which was featured on Oxygen Network in 2015. And we're going to talk about that because I want to know all the tea about Oxygen and what you were doing. But since then, she's founded NaChe Cosmetics, Black Hair Apothecary, and Successful Parent Academy. Through each of her efforts, NaChe seeks to empower and encourage others, and that is why she is here. We are going to talk about failing forward and pivoting towards success. As you can see, she has a huge background of doing a number of different things and pivots and different areas of business and multiple streams of income. And so she is the perfect person to talk to us about that today. So again, welcome, NaChe.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I was so intrigued when you had applied to be a part of the podcast because you were so transparent in your story about your early entrepreneurial journey. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it had something to do with what you were doing when you were on the Oxygen Network. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I like to be really honest about like the failure parts of my story because I don't think enough people talk about it. And because there's such a huge part of my story. So I was on Oxygen back in 2015. I think it was 2015, where they had this show that was debuting called Quit Your Day Job. And the premise was that you would be competing to win a year's salary to quit your job and run a business of your dreams, right? So I had this invention at the time that I thought was my invention. It was an adapter that turned little water bottles, like those little 8-ounce water bottles, it turned them into baby bottles. So if you were to forget your baby's bottle, you could just pop one of these onto an 8-ounce water bottle, shake it up, and then feed your baby, right? Okay. Which I thought was brilliant at the time. I had a little baby and I was always forgetting his bottle. So so that's what I applied to be on the show for. And I just had like a sketch and a 3D printed prototype and I got on the show and I won the show. I won a year's salary to quit my job as a teacher. At the time I was a teacher, a classroom English teacher. And I got a year's salary to quit my job as a teacher and to go try to make this business work, which sounded so amazing at the time. And stop me anytime if I'm babbling, but
I'm locked in now. I'm like, wait a minute, you went on the show. First of all, okay, you went on the show. Mm-hmm. You applied, you got on the show, and then you won the show. So like, all right, I'm locked in. Let's go. Keep talking.
There were little investments given throughout the show to different people, but I won the quit your job investment. So it was a really big deal, which put a lot of eyes on me and a lot of pressure on me to succeed in this business, right? But I had no training, no resources. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I blew through a lot of that money, just bumping my head, getting scammed here and there, trying to get my idea to a physical product on the market. And so that was really my first big taste of failure. I kind of had to go back to work with my head down, like, sorry guys, I didn't make it. I'm back at the job, and let my investors down and, all these different things because I just didn't have enough money to manufacture the product. And there were some design challenges I couldn't afford to pay an engineer to fix at the time. And so it really crushed me to fail so publicly and so, so visibly. And I had all my hopes and dreams riding on this. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. At the time, they're like 3 and 0. And I'm teaching and it's not enough money. And I'm like, oh man, this business is going to change my life. And it did not. So it was just this really devastating thing that I took really hard. And it took me a lot of time to bounce back and pivot, figure out what I was going to do instead or next.
So here's what I want to highlight in that whole story. Because I have a failure story too. and I tell it, and I wrote a book about it. And I know how it feels, like you said, when you have your hopes riding on something and you're successful and visibly successful out of the gate. And so people are looking at you and, you know, this is taking off and whatever. And the excitement of that ride up, right? It's like you're going up a roller coaster. But then all of a sudden you come down on the other side. And I had to realize that a lot of the hurt and the disappointment, and this took time. So it took time for me to realize that the hurt and the disappointment really was my own ego, and not really that other people were judging me as much as I thought they were. And so I don't know if that's your experience, but on the other side of it, I know you had to rebound because now you're like successfully doing all this other stuff. What would you say was your aha moment that kind of clicked in your mind to allow you to move forward into these other journeys when you did your pivot?
I kind of had to just have this real conversation with myself that you're either going to sit here and you're going to mope for more years, or you're going to do something different and circle back to this when you can. Because one of the things I realized over time is that just because you fail at something doesn't mean it's a permanent failure, right? I mean, as time goes on, I have gotten the money to work with the engineer to fix the design issue. Or at one point, Playtex, it was me and one other company up for a deal with Playtex and that would have taken all the manufacturing expenses off of me and put it on Playtex, and they won by a hair. And so it was like, again, up that elevator and right back down. And so I just figured out ways to make the product better for when I could manufacture it. You know what I mean? So kind of just like telling myself, this isn't the end. This is just an iteration of it. It's not the only idea you've ever had. You can fix it and improve upon it and do other things in the meantime until you can get back to that when you feel that the time is right. So kind of just being more honest with myself and not pressuring myself without giving myself any solutions to my problem. You know?
I like that because what I feel and what I see, especially now that women entrepreneurship is taking off, and especially Black women. I read a statistic that said that we start businesses at 4 times the rate of our white counterparts. And I think that even going back to the show and the title of the show, what was it? Quit your job or what?
Quit your day job.
Quit your day job. Like, that is really why most of us are doing this, is so that we can quit our day jobs, because we've been, working in corporate, or like you working in education and these other fields, and giving so much of our time and so much of our energy to other people. And it's like now we're recognizing the wealth in creating our own. And so even though, as I hear your story, even though you stumbled, because I don't see it as a failure. I see it as it's almost like you trip, but when you trip, you end up forward. You end up further along than you were. And so I'm just like listening, and I'm just like, wow, to me, that is so cool that you took that chance on those chances on yourself, and you got so far without even so much as like having run a business before. So I just say that to encourage you, because I'm just like, wow, that to me is awesome.
I actually do feel like I fell forward because my passion was not necessarily for the product, even though I had somehow tied my identity up into it at some point. My passion was for helping women, right? So I just found other ways to do that over time. And from what I considered to be a failure, just because, I never made it to where I wanted, I learned a lot of what not to do for the next time. And so each time I've started a business after that, it's gone faster, it's done better, because you fail forward. You might have sucked in one aspect of what you did the first time, and the second time, you know what not to do and what to do better, and the little twists and tricks and shortcuts. And so things have gone a lot better each time that I've started something new. So definitely a positive.
something you just said really just like it clicked and it resonated. You said, I tied my identity to this thing.
That's why it hurts so bad.
That's why it hurts. I'm telling you, that's why it hurts when you get fired from a job. That's
Mm-hmm.
why it hurts when a business fails. That's why, a lot of these things that happen to us are so painful, is because somehow we've wrapped ourselves into it. And I can even speak for myself. My business is Bright Girl Media. My mascot is a cartoon form of me because I came out trying to brand myself. And it's hard to separate yourself from something that you've poured so much into.
Right.
So what would you tell other women who are, they're out here, they've started something, they've taken the leap of faith, and it's not quite working out, but they're so, they have their fists so tightly holding on to that thing because it's like, this has to work, this has to work.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to them?
I saw like a meme. I don't know what to call it. It was just some text on Instagram that said something like, be attached to your goal, but be flexible in your method. And to me, that is what I've been trying to do is I'm attached to this, this outcome, right? Financial freedom for my family, or, freedom from the corporate world, or whatever that may be, but I can be flexible in how I get there. Or I want to help women, but it doesn't have to be in this one specific way. It can be in a whole bunch of different ways. Like with the cosmetics that we talked about, I was going into Sephora and these other places where they sell makeup, and I wasn't finding things that looked good on my skin tone. So I'm like, well, I can do better than this, and I'm going to. So then nobody else that's my skin tone has to deal with this, So it's not me helping women feed their babies. It's me helping women find something that looks good on them without the shame that comes with not being able to find stuff for your skin. So just different ways to achieve the same goal is something I would tell people, and also know when to let it go. At a certain point, people say don't quit, don't give up, but you're not quitting necessarily. You know what I mean? You might be revising, but not quitting. And so I felt myself trying to force that invention through and losing a lot to do that when it just was not the right time. You know what I mean? So I would tell women to just be flexible.
I like that. And if it don't fit, don't force it. Because
Right.
so many times it's that one thing, and it's that one pivot or that one turn or that next idea, and it's like boom, and it's just off to the races. But you had to learn all these things before, like you were saying, to get the knowledge, to get the experience, to get the confidence to go off and do the thing that is actually going to work. And so, I even think about myself. I've done so many things. I have a coworker that turned into like a brother to me, and he laughs at me all the time because he's like, what haven't you done? You've done this. Like every time we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to work here, or oh yeah, I used to do that. And he's like, what haven't you done? But in that, I've learned just not to be afraid to take the chance, or to try to learn something new, or to use those transferable skills to do something different, because I'm not always just married to the method, kind of like what you just said.
Yeah,
So
I love that. And I'm thinking about how um, how sometimes you feel like the risk of being embarrassed by what other people think, like, oh, they're going to say I'm just, I gave up, or I'm jumping around from business to business, or, and it's kind of like determining that you're not going to care what people think so much, about what you're doing, because they're probably not trying anything anyway themselves. And so as hard as it's kept, so you don't really have to let that be your driver. You know what I mean? So I've been trying to work on that more and more over time.
Yeah. I love that. You said they're probably not even doing anything themselves. And that's so true. You have so many people, and they're sitting on the couch at home with the remote in their hand. And then they have so many judgments about what you're doing, but they haven't even, had the courage to take the risk on themselves.
That's what it is. They don't have the courage. They haven't had the courage. So you having the courage to do it. Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you'll get rejected. I mean, I heard a lot of no's, and sometimes you will feel a little bit of embarrassment, but at least you're trying,
Yeah. So, okay, so you started with the baby bottle idea, and then now you have three other ventures that you're doing, mainly the cosmetics line. How did you get to the point of saying, maybe I need to do this? I know you talked about, the skin tone thing, but when did you make the pivot after the 2015 and the oxygen and all of that other stuff?
So I'm trying to, the pandemic year is hard to count, but before that, I had a job interview, and I'm not someone who wears makeup every day. I have a skin condition, so it's hard for me to wear makeup all the time. But when I need makeup, I need makeup. So I had a job interview. I needed lipstick and all the makeup that you need to have a full face, and had none. So I went to a store I won't name and wanted some, but couldn't find anything that looked great on my skin. And so I went somewhere else. I finally found a shade that looked great on me, but then it was all dry and crusty and felt like cement was on my lips, right? So I just felt so mad about that I immediately was like, I'm going to start doing the research and development and figuring out how to start cosmetics, right? So I found an opportunity to private label, put my brand on something that already exists, and was doing that. And I was going to take it to Shark Tank. And I had applied for Shark Tank in the past. I got to like the third round and then just didn't get on the show, for the baby bottle, of course. But so I knew how to apply. So I was going to apply to Shark Tank. And my dad has a best friend who heard I was going to Shark Tank and put me in contact with his son, who just loved my idea and empowered me to be able to, we partnered, and he empowered me to be able to create my own shades with the lab, and create my own bottle from scratch. So I had engineers design it. And I noticed that applicators for lipstick are very thin, and I have big lips. I don't want to do this a million times. I want to do it twice. So I designed my own applicator for women with larger lips. Like, I got to do all this fun, amazing, creative stuff. And so that has just started. Like, I just put down the deposit for the machine to start making the bottles. I mailed it on Saturday. So it's been a year-long process of all that, a little bit over a year, to go from white labeling to this. And again, about failure, the first set of shades I put out through that white labeling process, there were women it was during the pandemic, so I only got to test it on myself. And so there were women who were finally buying it, and they were my color and darker, and they were saying, we can't wear these. They don't look good on our skin tone, which is like, that's what I started it for. So I pulled them and we started over. I had a focus group. We tested it on all kinds of different shades of people to make sure every shade looks good on everyone. And that's where I'm at now. Hopefully we can relaunch in the fall.
Wow, that is exciting. You have this great story. I'm loving this, because it's so it's like you start doing one thing and you keep having the courage to go out. The fact that you wanted to go back on Shark Tank, it's like, okay, yes, I was on TV once, but I'm going to go back again. And,
what do you do when you need the money? There's only so many funding options for us. And thankfully that my partner came along, because the having access to capital has really just transformed what I've been able to do. And I don't know how I would have gotten it otherwise, honestly.
Wow. So is he like a venture capitalist, or he's just like a private investor, or?
He's just a friend, honestly. His friend, somebody I grew up with, from his dad and my dad being friends, and he had businesses in his past and was able to invest in my dream, which was amazing. So a silent partner, but I use his creative eye. He's really creative. And so, like, in terms of our bottle design, and I have the 3D prints, but in terms of our bottle design, he's able to say when, this is what we can do to make that even better. And so I really appreciate having his input.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have going on, and the
Thank
colors and all this stuff. I love makeup. I probably have too much in there. I went about a month ago, and I like threw away old stuff, and I still had a ton of stuff. I was like, oh my God, I got all this makeup. But I love the fact that it's focused on us and our skin tones, because you're right. I mean, I'm not dark, but I do have problems like matching myself a lot, because it's like the colors that are for me they don't always match my undertones, and then I look like I'm casket sharp. And so it's like,
right, which is what I was going through all the time. I understand.
yeah, it's like something in the pigment is just off. You know, you leave the store, and it's always funny for me because when I go to the department store, they always seem to, you know, they'll put it on and it'll look nice under their lights or whatever. And then you
Right.
go outside and it's like,
Right.
what is this?
Yeah, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is so cool. So what all are you going to feature in your line?
So we got, like I said about the focus group, so we had a wide range of Black women come in here with the lightest skin tones, with different undertones, to the darker skin tones with different undertones, and tried them all. And so I picked 10 shades to start with. I'm going to release a few each season. And I didn't pull it up, but I have all the shades like out on my arm, and I named them all after influential Black women, either in my life or just in general. And so I'm really excited. It's going to be awesome. And we got a marketing team that's put together a new website that I'll be able to relaunch, because, you know, sometimes when you're doing everything by yourself, it's the solopreneur thing. Some stuff looks a little raggedy sometimes. so I have a little bit of a raggedy website, and I'm happy that I got to redo everything the way I really envisioned it. So excited.
Wow. I can't wait to see it. I really
They're
can't.
creamy mattes. So they're creamy matte lipsticks. You know, matte lipstick sometimes dries very dry.
Yeah, they're like chalky.
Yeah, and we don't have that problem. So they're the creamiest matte lipsticks. All the pigments are really deep and beautiful. And then, like I said, we designed a different bottle and a different applicator, so your experience should be better than it would be with like a traditional typical lipstick.
Nice. So you're not making it. You have an actual.
We contracted with the lab. So we contracted with a lab so that we can pick the shades, and we can also pick the scent. And we're still working out the scent. That's a surprisingly difficult thing to nail down, is a custom scent. So
I didn't know lipstick had scents. I guess I've never paid attention that.
Smell them. I have like 500 lipsticks from researching this. And so every brand has a different scent. Some are unscented, but you can still smell a little bit of the ingredients under. So this first round, we're not going to be able to get the scent down because the samples didn't come back to my satisfaction. But over time, we will have a custom scent that I'm excited about too. So
that is cool.
So there's some chemists that work on it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so cool. I'm loving this. So you have the cosmetics line, and that's just exciting enough to me. But you also have 2 other things that you're doing. Tell me about those projects too.
So what happened with those is that in the time that it's taken to get all that stuff squared away, you know, getting machines built, and I had to get like a lab room put into my room, a clean room put into my house, so that we can fill
in your house.
Yeah, so we had a room completely renovated so that it's up to like all the standards that need to be had to have cosmetics in a house. And so I essentially have a lab in my home where we'll fill the bottles. So we'll get our product that we created with this lab in bulk, and then we'll fill the bottles in house. You know, I got all the protective equipment and all that for everybody, but so what happened while I was squaring all that away is that I was like working on growing out my hair during the pandemic, because I cut it at the start. And I have used these specific oil blends for years on my hair to regrow it or to restore it. And like I mentioned, I have a skin condition to sort of help with that. And my friends started noticing how quickly my hair was growing back and asking me if they could have some of my oil. So I decided I was going to bottle it. I already had the clean room at the house. So I decided I was going to bottle it and sell it. Starting just giving it to my friends and family, and then start selling it. And so what came from that is Black Hair Apothecary, which is all natural hair oils that restore and nourish your hair and grow it out. So that's my other project. I have some of these right here. And then the last one is my kids have faced a lot of racism at school. And as an educator, I've seen how schools work on the back end. And I wanted to help other parents, you know, take the shortcuts to get your kids what they need. So I started Successful Parent Academy, which is really just online resources for parents, just to help people as I could, you know.
Wow.
A busy bee.
Yes, you are. You really are. I'm just floored at this lab and all this other. I'm just like,
Every time I get annoyed with something, again, that was my partner's idea because he didn't like the idea that the lab we contract with would have complete control and he wanted us to have it. So, which I love, you know, you can do quality control. You can look at every bottle and make sure it's something you want your name on. And my literal name is on it. It's called NaChe Cosmetics. So I don't want anything going out that I didn't get to look at. So again, having access to that partner and that capital helped me to be able to do that. And so I'm grateful and happy about it.
Man, that is a blessing.
Really
That is
is.
a blessing.
Really
You have a great story because, and the reason that I love it is because on, you know, social media and everything now, entrepreneurship is the buzzword. Everybody is really, you know, into this, finding your thing and monetizing it. And along with that comes expectations, I'll say. A lot of times they're false expectations. You know, people are like, oh, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to start this and I'll be a millionaire next week because so-and-so on Facebook or Instagram posted that they, you know, they posted their receipts and they, you know, made $100,000 in a day, or, you know, how, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I feel like people like you are priceless in this space because you're willing to tell the truth about your story. You're willing to tell the highs, the lows, and really be transparent about what this walk of life is like.
It's really hard. And I don't think people talk about that enough, how isolating it is, how much, yeah, I mean, I've faced so much depression over this, the businesses, you know, it's, you're broke sometimes, you have to come out your own pocket. And there's this culture on Instagram that if you just grind and hustle and never sleep, like you're going to be a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I have to go to work, right? Like I still have to go to my job at the office until one of these things, you know, builds high enough that I can stop doing that. And I don't think people talk about that enough. And then I also don't think people talk about, like, a lot of this has been like chance. I don't know the word for it, but a lot of what people are viewing as my success has not been because of my hard work. It's been because of chance or access or social capital, someone I've known who's been able to open a door. Like in terms of getting on that show, I didn't get on that show because of my shining personality. There's a coach that's also in our group. Her name is TJ Mercer. And she talked to me about how to present myself in the interview so that I could get on the show. And her knowing that, her having that specialized knowledge and me knowing her through a Facebook group, that's what helped me get on the show. Not like I had worked really hard and gotten on. Or the same thing for this partner that I have who's given me access to all this capital. That is somebody I've known growing up. It's not like I worked hard and got an investment. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think they're misrepresenting it. A lot of these new entrepreneurs are misrepresenting how they're getting to where they are. Like they're not doing it on their own. If they're doing it, they're not doing it on their own. They have a team. And then also like I would not call this glamorous by any means. I mean, maybe like Diddy's version of it is glamorous, but like my version is sometimes we eat ramen, you know, like pack of noodles. Like I don't understand that lying to the people and getting them to throw their livelihood away to start businesses that are really hard to run.
Yeah. I think that part of it, I'm just gonna be honest. Part of it is just their ego and them wanting to elevate themselves above other people. And so it's like, let me make this look this way, or let me brag about that, you know, all these wins, but we never hear about the losses. We never hear about the time that you're balled up in the corner, you know, in a dark closet, crying your eyeballs out.
Right.
Or, you know, the times when you're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna make this happen. And I love the fact that you mentioned the network and the social capital that you have, because this is not something that you can do on an island by yourself.
There's no way.
It's just not. Like, I think about all the people that I've networked with, I've met, who've opened doors or who have introduced me to new people, or even just in conversation casually said something and then it's like a nugget is dropped and it's like, oh, that's the answer.
Right.
And so the idea that we can grind ourselves into, and just think about that word, grind.
Right. It's violent.
Think about, the idea that you can grind yourself to success is just, to me, I already told you before we got on camera, I got off Instagram for a while, for over a month, and Facebook, because I was like, this is not the energy that I need right now. I want to flow in grace in my business. And yes, I know I have to work hard and I have to, be strategic and things like that. But I don't want to have to scrape, scramble, and grind myself to get to these places. And so I love your story, because you're honest about, look, I knew these people, they helped me get here. And we don't see that a lot. And it's
I wish more people were honest. And I noticed even some of the business people that I know doing the same thing, where they're promoting that grind culture and never sleeping. And there is a lot of like sleepless nights, but it's not because we want those, right? I started following this thing on Instagram called the Nap Ministry, and it tells you, go lay down, go to sleep, take a nap. Yeah, we need it. We all need it. It's at the Nap Ministry, because whether whether you take that nap or whether you answer 50 emails, in your spare time, like, it's not going to put you too much farther ahead. So take the nap. That's what I'm learning how to do.
That's a blessing, because I learned that this past month, I went on a detox starting May 17th. And it was a 21-day detox. It was a physical detox. But in that time, like I just said, I got off social media. And I just kept feeling like I needed to rest. Before I went on the detox, I kept hearing, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I thought I was slowing down, but apparently I wasn't slowing down enough. And then it just came to a screeching halt at the beginning of June for me. And that was so hard, because I'm used to getting up at a certain time. I meditate, I journal, I do my affirmations, I write out my calendar for the day. Like, I have a goal calendar. Like, I'm like focused. I have a regimen. And none of that was like, I had nothing to do. I don't even know how it happened. And it all came together in this way that I literally I had nothing to do. And at first, maybe the first week and a half, it was so scary. I was like, oh my God, what is happening in my life? I have nothing to do. And then I just got to a point where it was like, I had a grace and I just rested and really, really slowed down. And I realized that if I have to be the only one, or I have to be the one to push this thing uphill, I can't do it in my own strength. I have to, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
And then I started to really rest, because I was like, you know what, this ain't even, it's bigger than me. And I cannot be the one that is fully shouldering everything. Yes, I could be the face of the business. Yes, I can be the CEO of the business. I can lead. But if I have to be the one to get up every single day and make something happen, I need to find a better way.
Right.
And so that is what I really want to put out there. And that's why I wanted to share your story so much, because I love, and on my Instagram, I tell people all the time, look, I did this, I did that. It didn't work. These are my thoughts. These are my affirmations. And I try to put that energy out there, because we need so much more of it.
Right. That exhaustion will really take you out. It is, I have gotten so sick working too hard, to where a long time ago, I saw something that basically said, if you don't choose time to rest, your body's going to choose it for you. And my body will just shut me down and I'm out. There's nothing I can do. So that resting is so important. This is an exhausting thing to take on, and we don't have a lot of people in our circles, not in our circles, but before us, that were doing this, that we could watch to take the shortcut. We're doing a lot of trial and error. And so it's tiring, and taking care of yourself. Like you said, you went on that physical detox. I love that. I want to do that. That's amazing. We need stuff like that, to take care of our health, or this is too much stress for one person.
I didn't realize, like, when I was on the detox, in my mind, I was like, okay, I've done cleanses before and things like that. So I was waiting on like headaches or, all the other good stuff that comes along with it, and your body feels, you feel almost fluish some days or whatever. I was fine physically, but I realized that I was emotionally drained because putting your ideas and putting yourself out there in front of people, you're vulnerable. It's almost like you're naked. It's like these are my ideas here, and you're putting them on a platter for people to love, hate, judge,
criticize. Mm-hmm.
And going back to your earlier comment about your identity being tied to things, I didn't realize how wrapped up in my business I was until I had to unwrap myself. And I was just like, the tears were just flowing. And I didn't even know why I was crying. I was just crying. And I was just like, yeah, I now I realize what it feels like to fully release and like let go. So
yeah, that part about tying your identity into it, when you do fail, it feels like you are a failure, which is not the thing, and that's what I had to really learn, is that even if you make a mistake or even if something doesn't pan out, that it's not saying anything about you, right? I don't know. I just wish I could talk to my younger self and spare me that like 2 years of devastation. That something I tried to, the other thing is, I was a gifted kid, they put you in the gifted class. Yeah. So, so you're about to resonate. Yeah, this is about to resonate with you. So you don't really always have to try to be good at something. So when you put your heart and soul into something, you really tried and it doesn't work out, then it's like, oh my God, what is this? Right?
God, what is the world? Yes.
That's what happened to me. So I was like, this is the first time I've really had to try, right? And it did not go well. So I'm like, who am I? What am I? I'm not gifted. I'm not smart. Yes. I'm a failure. I'm this, I'm that. And none of that was true. Right.
Yes. So, oh my God. I'm so glad you tied that together, because that's me. Like, my whole life, I've just easily like gotten A's.
You just coast.
I did not go to school, and I was in honors classes, and I ditched school in high school and still ended up on the honor roll.
So what I used to do is, I played sports, you have to maintain a GPA to be on the team, right? So I used to calculate how much work I could get away with not doing, and when in the semester I needed to start working, and how much, so that I could still get that GPA. And then I get to college and I don't know how to study, but I still somehow make it. And now I'm like, yeah, now you actually have to try it. If this is an acquired skill, this is a skill set, or these are things you have to learn how to do. You don't just wake up knowing how to run a business.
And error. This is like learn by doing. This isn't learn by osmosis reading.
I don't know why I thought
all the books on entrepreneurship in the world, and still,
I don't know why I thought I was going to be able to just be able to invent something and run a bit. Like, I don't know why I thought that, and that I didn't need to learn anything about it. But I really thought I was just going to coast on through and like make it work, become a millionaire in that year off my job. I had to borrow money for rent. Like, great, you quit your job, but you can't pay your bills. That's not your money. That's the business's money. It was terrible, horrible.
Yeah, I know it. Wow.
Yes.
Well, we've come to the end of our time. I have so much more I want to talk about now that we're like in the groove. It always happens this way. It's like we get in the groove and then it's like, dang, it's time to wrap up. But I appreciate you so much for being here and for sharing your story. I honor your triumphs as well as your tragedies, because I know that those things have made you who you are now, and it's only going to be the foundation and the footer for you to move forward. And then we'll see you, in Sally and Target, and I'm like,
hopefully one day.
Podcast. See, that's how it all works. And then I can tell everybody I know you.
I appreciate you having me here. Thank you. And thank you for letting me be so honest. You created a space where it's okay to be transparent. So I really appreciate you for it.
Absolutely. Now tell the people how they can find you. Do you have a waiting list or something, or a mailing or anything that we can like subscribe to so we can know when your launch is?
That's probably something I should have done.
Well, okay.
Well, what they can do is follow at NaChe Cosmetics on Instagram, and then all the old stuff is there. And when I restart, that's where I will be uploading new things. So while there's no wait list, if you follow NaChe Cosmetics, you'll get all the updates anyway.
All right. And that's spelled NaChe. All right. For everybody that is watching, go follow her. Y'all saw her here, and y'all know she's about to be the bomb, and y'all are going to want to go to these cosmetics. So thank you again for joining us. And as always, we will be back next week. We will have a whole nother woman entrepreneur on talking about her story. So y'all stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see y'all next